What is going on, IVE Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about a study that did something interesting. It actually put intermittent fasting versus intermittent fasting. Pretty interesting, right? Well, what they did is they looked at intermittent fasting with controlling for calories and intermittent fasting with not controlling for calories, and they tried to see what the outcome would be. The setup that they used was time-restricted feeding, which was 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating. The results were pretty fascinating, and I'm gonna go ahead and break it down in this video. Stay tuned. Quickly guys, before we start, this video is brought to you by yours truly, Fledge Fitness and the Fledge Fitness Jump Rope. If you haven't gotten yours yet, what are you waiting for? You know these bad boys always sell out, and with this ergonomic design, aluminum handle, and the swivel design for maximum speed, you can't go wrong with the Fledge Fitness Jump Rope. Only $16.50. The link will be down in the description below. And of course, as always guys, thank you for your support. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Now this study was published December 4th of 2019 in the Journal of Nutrition Research. The study was run by Matthew J. McAllister and colleagues and wanted to see if there was a difference between controlling for calories while doing intermittent fasting versus not controlling for calories. So if you are new to study rhetoric, isocaloric was them controlling for calories. So they set calorie numbers for the participants, and ad libitum means that the participants were allowed to eat as much as they liked. However, these researchers still tracked their calorie intake. So they told them they could eat whatever they like and how much they like, as long as they were within the 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating. And they told the isocaloric group that they must eat a certain amount of calories per day within that 8-hour window and fast for 16 hours. It was a group of 22 men that made it to the final stage after they whittled through about 26 men who requested to participate in the study. Once they whittled through that, they had 22 men who had an average age of actually 22. They were found to be metabolically healthy. They didn't have any metabolic issues. So if you do have metabolic health problems, this particular study may not be directly pertaining to you because of this limitation. They looked at so many different data points, and they came into this study with a hypothesis. And there's a lot of integrity to be said when they have a hypothesis where they're creating this scientific educational guess to what they think is going to happen in the study before it even happens. They felt that people who lost weight doing the intermittent fasting protocols was because they were reducing calories and not because they were eating as much as they liked. And they had the hypothesis that the isocaloric group would lose more body fat than the ad libitum group, which is the group that can eat as much as they want. They commenced the study. They took the data points of blood lipid profiles. They looked at their body composition. They looked at their body mass, so how much they weighed. They looked at their height. They analyzed glucolipids, adiponectin, HGH, insulin, cortisol, C-reactive protein. So many different biological markers were tested to see if there were going to be positive or negative changes. But of course, I'm sure you guys want to know what happened with the body composition. What happened to the body fat itself? Well, surprisingly, against their hypothesis, there was no significant difference between the two groups in the reduction of body fat itself. And the interesting part of this study is that they measured how much calories the ad libitum group was eating, and they ate on average more calories than those that were in the isocaloric group. Now there was 12 people in the ad libitum group and 10 people in the isocaloric group, and they measured body fat accuracy not using a bioimpedance scanner or a DEXA scan. They measured it using a 9-point skin fold using body fat calipers, which tends to be a bit more accurate, and also a body pod measurement, which is almost as accurate as one of the highest levels of accuracy for body fat percentage, which is being literally dumped into water so that you are suspended in water. This can somewhat simulate that level of accuracy. So it was a very accurate tool that was being used. They noticed that both groups lost body fat in a non-significantly different percentage. Both groups were incredibly successful at increasing their insulin sensitivity, increasing their HGH, the human growth hormone, and the adiponectin was also increased. This completely stunned the researchers who did not expect this at all. Like I said, they came into this with an educational guess that the isocaloric group would automatically outflank the ad libitum group simply because of calorie restriction. But this is the thing. The intermittent fasting protocol in and of itself cannot be viewed through the lens of just simply calories in versus calories out, because there are hormonal elements that are taking place, and many of those hormonal elements and hormonal shifts can be seen in this study. Even the oxidative stress of the participants were reduced. So it led the researchers to create some type of analysis on how the body fat, although there were more calories taken in, how the body fat in and of itself went down. Now keep in mind that weight is distributed throughout your body in so many different ways. So although one group can lose more weight than the other, you can still lose the same amount of body fat in both groups while still losing more weight in one group over the other, because weight is distributed in muscle tissue, glycogen, water weight, so many different factors. So yes, calorie intake matters, but the partitioning of those calories matter as well. But the interesting part about this is that the study actually used time-restricted feeding, the 16-8 model, against both groups. And even though there was a higher calorie deficit overall with the group that was isocaloric, they still saw the same health markers and even the same body composition markers between the two. So they analyzed that possibly the adiponectin had an effect, because adiponectin increases the AMPK enzyme, and that enzyme has been seen to promote lipolysis. And lipolysis, of course, is body fat burning, the removal of triglycerides from the body fat cells, breaking them down and sending them to be oxidized, fat oxidation. It's even linked to glucose metabolism and even insulin sensitivity, what allows the body to trigger itself and burn more body fat than, of course, if you were higher in insulin or higher in insulin resistance. And not only did they see these markers happen, they also saw their resting metabolic rate go up. Believe it or not, even though they were losing weight, their resting metabolic rate went up. Now, keep in mind, this is somewhat acute because it was only 28 days. So they were only being viewed for basically 1 month, but still resting metabolic rate was going up while they were losing body fat. And guess what? Their fat-free mass also went up. And fat-free mass is everything other than body fat. So lean tissue, which is muscle tissue, that is part of the fat-free mass. So that actually increased, resting metabolic rate increased, and body fat decreased in both groups at a very equal level, even though the calorie disparity was a little bit different. Super interesting study. IF versus IF, calorie control versus no calorie control, and still, regardless of how you slice it, the benefits are there. Of course, I'm going to link the study down below so that you guys can take a look at it for yourself. And as always, I want to thank my patrons from my Patreon. I'm going to go ahead and put their names right up here. And of course, as always, guys, I'll see you on Sunday for another FAQ. Peace!